Okay, I've drawn in several lines here. Obviously, we see the spine tilt forward, 34 degrees. That's a pretty good angle. He's a little rounded in the back, but then he's not a young man anymore. He's still very fit. Notice that the hips are pretty close to being right over the ankle bone. Pretty good posture right there. And the club shaft is almost 90 degrees to his spine. So he's in a really good athletic attack position right there. Let's run this through in slow motion and see what the takeaway looks like in the swing. It's a golfer that's very experienced. It's a pretty good golfer. Just has discovered a few minor issues in his swing. Okay. While that looks like a pretty good swing, we can pinpoint a couple of flaws that are causing problems. One of the early flaws is in the takeaway. You can see how the left elbow comes way out and actually starts to bend a little bit right in there. And that's because he's trying to get the club in the air using the wrong set of muscles. Instead of just continuing to drop the left shoulder down under his chin, you see how his shoulder's coming in pretty high. I think if he could keep his left arm straight and not try to get that club so far behind him. I mean, that club's way back here. That's a long ways back, well below the swing plane line. Then as he gets to the top, what happens is he's got to lift up, then he's going to collapse. He's got very little width. And instead of the club being up partway between his shoulder and his ear, it's way past his shoulder, which is creating a kind of a collapsed arc. We're not getting as big an arc swing as we'd like to see. So then as we start back down again, he comes kind of over the top. You can see now he's really jammed in. Let's clear everything out of the way so you can see it more clearly. See how he just kind of has that look of just being kind of stuck. How his right elbow is behind him. It should be out in front of the right hip instead of behind the right hip. And then he's come through. Notice how stiff his legs get because of that. He's coming into impact with absolutely no movement in the lower body at all. He's facing the ball, almost a Mo Norman type setup right there, rather than that nice rotary where we're driving the right knee to the left knee. We're pulling the left hip out behind us, we're driving the right hip into where the left hip used to be, and getting a good torque on the swing, a little bit of the X factor. You can see that everything is just sort of arms action here, that he's not getting any kind of motion into the target until pretty late in the swing. And then he comes to a finish. What we'd like to do is get him a little bit more action.